Hi, guys, and welcome to the first episode of the Unacthletic podcast. I am your host, Tom, and I am with your co host.
Colin.
Um, Today, episode one of this podcast, we'll be talking about the Belgium Grand Prix, the 2024 Belgium Grand Prix that literally happened, I'd like to say, around about 5 hours ago.
Yeah, something like that.
So a little bit of controversy around qualifying. Having said that, because Max got a 10 place grid penalty. He did qualify P1, yet started P11 because of that penalty, inheriting Charles Leclerc into that pole position spot. Now, going into the race today, what was kind of your feeling? What was the vibe that you were getting from the races? What was the vibe you were getting from the grid?
I mean, for me, I watched the whole race. I sat here and watched it. The Ferrari started strong. Lewis started strong. George started really strong. We'll get to that situation later. L- Piastri was strong. Lando had a shocking start. It was shocking. Max started strong. He Max Verstappen's going to do what Max Verstappen does.
I totally agree. I mean, I unfortunately was watching Deadpool and Wolverine while the race was on, so I didn't actually get to watch it. But I did just go through the highlights that F1 put out on YouTube, and from what I saw in the from the start, Sergio Perez actually didn't have a very good start. Because the fact is, Lewis Hamilton was past Perez straight off the bat. I mean, Perez literally squeezed Hamilton as far as he possibly could to the wall without any collision. But no, Lewis Hamilton got past. Perez down into P3. Unfortunately for Perez, he did finish P8 in the end. But no, I think overall from what I watched, it was a pretty entertaining race, especially with the top six, I'd say,
Yeah.
being quite close. Lando, like you said, had a pretty shocking race, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, wasn't great, and then again the same with Charles Leclerc. Um, Again, he started on pole and then somehow managed to only come home in sixth.
Well, he
Um,
started the race strong. First four or five laps, he was doing all right, and then
yeah, I
went
mean,
downhill over there.
like from what I saw, right, those Mercedes looked quick. And I
Yeah,
mean, other than the news that we got about an hour ago about George, Lewis looked like the old Lewis. Lewis looked like
yeah.
Lewis from back in like 2021.
So what happens when
And
you give
uh,
him a confident car? When you give him a
and
car that
and 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 it,
confident in.
as much as I don't like Hamilton, it's good to see. It's good to see because like again, as much as I'm a tiny bit of a Max fan, right? The tiniest bit of a Max fan, not much, but I was a bit of a Max stan, right? It's good to see something other than Max winning for once. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like we've had we, Max had a little bit of a dominant start to the season, and we were like, oh, here we go again. But Red Bull's kind of fallen off coming into the halfway point of the season. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
it's we're finally getting to see some action, and I think this season has been the best season in F1 since that Verstappen Hamilton fight back in 2021.
yeah.
And it's just a breath of fresh air. Um, now on to the end of the race. So the provisional order of the race was George finished in P1 with
On a
Hamilton
one
and
stop. On
on
a
a
one
one
stop.
stop, with Hamilton and Piastri in P2 and P3. Leclerc finishes in P4, so I was wrong by that. So he actually finished in a decent place compared to from where he started. Verstappen coming from 11th to finish 5th. Lando Norris getting P6, Sainz P7, Perez P8, Alonso P9, Ocon P10. And then the non-points finishers were Ricardo, Stroll, Albon, Gasly, Magnussen, Bottas, Sonoda, Sargent, Hulkenberg, and Zhao with a DNF. Now,
So, real
three
quick, before
things.
we,
Yep, go
I
on.
want to change something. Before we get on to the George situation, because I already know that's where you're going. I heard from watching earlier. Will Buxton has said that next week Liam Lawson and Daniel Ricciardo will be doing testing in the RB18.
Mm,
So
okay.
is Checo's seat? Is it finally going to happen?
If I was Christian Horner right now, I've just lost my car designer in Adrian Newey, who,
Yeah,
by the way, has lowered his options down to Aston Martin and McLaren.
yeah,
Um, sorry, no, Mercedes and McLaren. Sorry.
yeah,
Um, I've I've just come back from some really big controversy between himself and a fellow colleague.
yeah,
The car isn't performing as well as I want it to, but neither is the second driver.
yeah.
Now, if I was Christian Horner, I think it would have to be another driver change.
Oh yeah, for
Now,
sure. It
now,
needs to be another driver thing. But what my
n-
thing with it, my saying with it is,
yeah,
if you're doing testing with Yuki Tsunoda, I'm not sorry, not Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson and Daniel Ricciardo, that's fine. But what about Yuki? Yuki's been on fire this season. I
100%,
understand. I
100%.
understand he has like that love for Daniel because Daniel was that academy driver for him. But you're
Yeah.
literally forgetting about Yuki, who's been twice the
Can
driver
I
Daniel's been this season.
can I just butt in here a little bit, and I'm gonna go off completely off the race now, and just go off on Yuki Tsunoda here. Now, since he's come into the sport, people have either completely underdogged him or have written him off completely as a driver for Red Bull, purely based on the fact that he hasn't performed as well as they want him to in a car that hasn't been great at all,
Yeah,
right? Now, yes, Daniel Ricciardo has shown spurts of some greatness, in Miami where he got those like where he finished really really well and where he's finished a couple of places, done well in a couple of races, right? But that's completely taken away from the fact that Yuki Tsunoda, for the last 3 seasons, has consistently finished between 12th and 8th every single race, other than the fact that the only times he's DNF'd is either because he's been spun out, because unfortunately he spun himself out, or the car has had a mechanical failure.
yeah,
Right? Yuki Tsunoda is the most underrated driver, I think, on the grid.
yeah.
Personally,
100%.
in
One
my
hundred percent.
opinion. Right? And it pains me to say this, but as much as they're giving him a run, as much as they like him in Alpha, they like him in RB, Visa Cash App Racing Balls or what the fuck it's called now, right? It pains me to see Red Bull just looking over him,
Yep.
right?
100%.
If I was to do anything, if I was Red Bull right now, right, I would promote Yuki to that Red Bull seat. Give him a chance, at least. Give him a season. Give him a season in that car to show what he can do, right? Then keep Daniel at RB, and then put Liam Lawson in that RB for him to learn off a veteran in Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo can give him tips and tricks, and he can go to Daniel as a like, oh, what can I do here? What can I do differently? And all that kind of stuff. And in the long run, then promote Liam Lawson to the Red Bull seat. I think Liam Lawson would would benefit more from getting into the RB first than going straight into the Red Bull.
I mean, let's look back at what happened last time. We put two rookies, not yeah, actually yeah, two rookies in Red Bull. Not rookies, I would say, but two really young drivers in a Red Bull, inexperienced. It failed.
Yeah,
It failed.
and I mean, look what happened when you put Pierre Gasly had spent one season, right? Not even that, one season in the in the Toro Rosso, got promoted to Red Bull, and then it just failed completely, right? Then next up, Albon spent half a season, not even a full season. He spent half a season in that Toro Rosso. Got put into the Red Bull, right? Got a few podiums, got a few points, but they were asking too much of him. He hadn't had enough time in the sport for that
it's
kind
it's
of role. Max
it's it,
Verstappen, they think that everyone is Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen is a once in a generational talent, right? I'm sorry, but Max Verstappen was one of those ones that they were just lucky that they got a driver that was that good in F3, right?
I
He
think
had
I
he
think they just expect everyone to be on Max's caliber.
oh
It's what
100%.
they expect. They expect everyone to be on Max's caliber. Nobody
And
on this grid besides in equal car besides maybe Lewis and Charles and Lando. No one. Nah, I can't say that. But
but
you know what I'm
take
trying
it
to say though.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But take it from Mercedes. Mercedes have done that. Mercedes have done what Red Bull should do. They let they basically so George Russell was part of the Mercedes Driver Academy in F2 and in F3, right?
Yeah.
He was so close not to get a seat, but Williams were like, "Okay, we'll put you in that seat." And throughout that 3 years he was with Williams, they monitored him, they tutored him. They Toto Wolff was basically a second tutor, right? And they waited 3 years. They put him in that car replacing Hamilton when he
Valtteri.
was ill. No, it
Oh
was
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Hamilton,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? When
When he
he
was
was
ill, yeah.
ill, and said, "Okay, let's see what you can do. You've had 3 years in that Williams. Now show us how hungry you are to take that seat." And then he went and won the fucking race.
Well, he should have. He should have
Well, no,
won the race, but he had a
he came
mechanical
second.
failure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A
Sorry,
mechanical
but
failure.
no, we should have won that race. And from that moment onwards, they were like, "Yeah, he's ready. He's now ready." And straight away the next season, boom, took took Valtteri's seat, right? But Red Bull don't wait for that. Red Bull aren't waiting. They go, "Oh yeah, he's got a few points finishes in half a season in a crap car. We'll put him in that car. Go on then. Why not? Fuck it. Why not? Right?" But it just baffles me, right? Because Max isn't going to be. Max is young, yes, but he's not going to be around forever. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And but then again, right? Like I said, I think what Red Bull need to do is bring Yuki, an experienced F1 driver, an experienced a driver who's shown that he can consistently finish well in a crap car. Put him in that car and just let him drive. Right? He doesn't have to win races. All he has to do is just get podiums. He can win a race here or there. But that's the thing, right? Yuki's now at a point where he's not going to learn anything off of Ricardo.
yeah.
And for Yuki to progress into a more complete driver, he needs that Max Verstappen style caliber of a driver to go up against. And I'm sorry, but Daniel Ricciardo's not going to give him that.
No,
And but whereas whereas Liam Lawson will benefit from Ricardo.
It makes sense too because they're not both from the same like country, but they're like Aussie, New Zealand. It's gonna work out.
Yeah. However, back onto the Belgian Grand Prix. That's what we were talking about. So yes, Zhou got a DNF, and I'm pretty sure that that's now. I'm pretty sure because of that DNF, and I'm not saying it's because of the DNF, but I'm pretty sure that that DNF has basically wrapped up Zhou's F1 career completely.
Well,
He's I don't I
his DNF was a mechanical failure.
Yes,
He literally
but
took it and they
again,
retired it.
but then again, I genuinely don't think he will stay on for another season. I think that is it. I think this is his
Yeah,
last season in F1.
yeah,
I
same.
don't see him going on anymore. However, Hulkenberg in 19th, Sargent in 18th, Sonoda in 17th, Bottas in 16th, Magnussen 15th, Gasly 14th, Albon, who started 10th by the way, down in 13th, Stroll in 12th, Ricardo in 11th. Now, like I said again, Ricardo has shown spurts that he can do well, right? But
Yeah,
it's
he
not
shows honey
consistent
badger
enough.
spurts. He shows his spurts of being the honey badger.
But
That's what I've always said.
it's not consistent enough. Whereas Yuki, yeah, okay, he finished 17th, but that's like the odd one or two races a season where he doesn't do well.
Yeah.
Anyway, top 10, Ocon, who, by the way, has been confirmed for Haas. He has signed a multi-year deal with the team, and he will be paired alongside the rookie
Ollie, Ollie,
Oliver
Ollie,
Behrman.
bear, man.
Up into ninth is Fernando Alonso. A bit of a drop off from last season, but I don't think that's his fault. I just genuinely think the car
The
isn't as
car.
good.
Oh yeah.
Sergio Perez, who started P2, he finished P8. Again, I think
He's
it's just his time to leave.
his
He's
time in
just
that
not
Red Bull is over.
doing well this season. They signed him onto a new deal prematurely. They gave him two races. They said, okay, you've done well in those two races. We'll sign you onto a new season. And then the four races following, he literally DNF'd
Shit.
or finished outside the points. Again, this race, he started second, by the way, which if you're in a Red Bull, you should be keeping, if not getting past and finishing first. And he dropped down to P8. So it's not great from a driver that should
He
be
got
showing levels.
he got passed by his teammate who started P11.
Exactly. Carlos Sainz in P7. He had a bit of a quiet race. Nothing really to talk about there. I'm pretty sure he's going to Ferrari. If I was to say anything, if he doesn't go to Ferrari,
Wait, what? He's
he
already
won't
at
go
Ferrari.
anywhere. I'm not sorry. I mean, he's going to Mercedes, and if he doesn't go to Mercedes, I think he'll just take he'll just
See,
take a break from the sport.
I feel different about that, but we can get to that after we finish.
Lando Norris in P6. He had a bit of a shocking start, to be honest with you, touching the gravel, going wide, and from there onwards, it didn't really get any better. Yeah, okay, he passed Carlos, but it wasn't a great drive from Lando, to be honest with you. Um, then we move on to P5. Max Verstappen coming in from 11th to get P5. That's just a very Max Verstappen thing to do.
Yeah,
I
nothing new
think
there.
as long as Max finishes around about P5 to P1 every race, I think he's won this championship.
Yeah.
Leclerc P4 down from P1. Again, a solid race from the Monegasque driver. Um, didn't really put a foot wrong. It was just not his day, and the car wasn't that quick. Piastri, blind of a race, by the way, from a driver that young. It's only his second season in F1, and he's driving like he's won 5 championships. Um, Lewis Hamilton, P2. But we'll get on to why he didn't get P2 and why everyone else went up a position after I've said everything else. Lewis Hamilton showed why he's Lewis Hamilton. Showed why he's a 7-time world champion.
Yeah.
Showed why Ferrari wanted him. Showed why he's regarded by some, if not most people, that he is the best ever F1 driver in history.
So,
And
do you think he regrets? You think he's having small
no,
regrets in his head
nope,
about leaving Mercedes?
no. I think Ferrari have something up their sleeve for next season, and I think that's why Hamilton's basically said, "Yeah, all right." I think Hamilton knew that Mercedes were going to get better this season, but I think he knows Ferrari's got something planned.
Cooking.
And Russell got P1, but he didn't because he got DSQ'd for an underweight car. He was 1.5 kilograms underweight, if I believe, which means that George Russell does not get any points for this race, meaning your top three for this race is Hamilton, Piastri, and Leclerc, and that means that now Hamilton has won 2 races. Oh, no, wait, no, Hamilton has won 2 out of the last 3 races. Do you think that Hamilton can keep this up?
Next track,
Next track is Zandvoort.
Zandvoort. Is that
I
Mercedes built
think
for
this is.
Zandvoort though?
I think Zandvoort is literally Max's to win. If
Yeah, yeah,
Max
one hundred
doesn't
percent.
win, if Max doesn't win, there's something wrong with that Red Bull
Yeah,
because that track is basically purposely built for Max.
yeah.
Ever since it's
100%.
joined the F1 calendar, Max has won that race by a lot as well.
Personally, I have
Uh,
another thing. Also, I think at some point this season we're gonna get another Grand Prix winner who's never won before, and I think it's gonna be Monza. But that's
okay.
me. I don't. Which
I
driver?
agree.
No clue. But
I you know what? Do you know what I think is going to be? Do you know? Right, you're going to think I'm really weird here, right? But I
yeah,
think I'm going to take a stab in the dark and say that the driver that you're on about, right,
yeah.
is Lance Stroll.
What?
He hasn't done too bad this season.
He hasn't, but he's in that Aston Martin. No.
But then who else is it? Because the only other drivers who haven't won a race ever that didn't finish in the top 10 this is Stroll, Albon, Magnussen, Sonoda, Sargent, Hulkenberg.
Well, I messed up when I said that. I like when I said like new race driver. I didn't mean like ever. I meant like a new winner this season.
Oh, a new winner this season.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I butchered
so
the way I
that
said
gives
that.
you the choice of no, because he's won a race. Perez,
No.
Alonso, Ocon, Ricardo, Stroll, Albon, Gasly, Magnussen, Bottas, Sonoda, Sargent, Hulkenberg, Zhou. Because Russell's won a race, Hamilton's won a race, Piastri's won a race, Leclerc's won a race, Verstappen's won a race, Norris has won a race, and so has Sainz. So,
See, Monza is the temple of speed. So
do
it's
you
going to
know
be one of
what,
those
right?
cars that have a lot of straight line speed on them.
Do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if, we say all this stuff about Perez needing to move on, but he'll go and win in Monza for some reason, just randomly
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Well, he'll do it in like for example, Christian Horner does Christian Horner things and just doesn't even like you're done. They put him in that V carb, and next thing you know, he wins in the V carb.
Yeah,
That's just a Perez thing to do. Also,
100%. Um, but no, George Russell, DSQ, Hamilton inherits the win. Piastri with his, I think, third or fourth podium this season, and Leclerc getting another podium. Unfortunately for Leclerc, I don't see him ever winning a world championship.
I
I, I'm
I
I'm
disagree.
I'm sorry, but with the fact that they've now bought in Lewis Hamilton for the next 2 years, I think their priority will be Lewis Hamilton until he retires, and then they'll bring in Ollie Behrman, and then their priority will be Ollie Behrman. And I
Now,
think
see,
by
we say that next year they're bringing in Lewis Hamilton, so they're going to prioritize him. I don't know because Leclerc is the Ferrari golden child. He is their golden boy. He is their baby. So I don't see that. I could see
I think he'll get
them
one, possibly.
prioritizing Hamilton a lot next season, but
I think if anything, Leclerc will get one, but I don't think he'll get any more. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I mean,
I don't see him getting any more than one. Unfortunately, if he would have won one, if he was that good of a driver, he would have won one by now, and that would have been when he first got into that Ferrari. Unfortunately,
yeah, but well, see, we say that, but the issue with that Ferrari, if you really think about it, Leclerc has had nothing but shit in that Ferrari. His first year in a Ferrari, it was it was a decent car, but then I don't know if you remember there was those issues about saying something with the front wing or something like that. There was something with the car that wasn't allowed. So it
yeah,
was fixed. But at that same time, he had to fight Sebastian Vettel as a teammate.
yeah.
And people say, "Oh, Seb's a good team player," which I can call bullshit on that because I love Sebastian Vettel, but I can call bullshit. The whole situation with Mark Webber and all that, it wasn't good. And then his second season in Ferrari, he had well, I think he had Vettel again, no? Or did he instantly get
Yeah. He had
Signs?
Vettel for 2 seasons.
Yeah, so he had Vettel for 2 seasons, both shit cars. He had Signs for 2 seasons, where well, I can't say shit car with Vettel because he did win his first 2 races with them. And
That
that,
for that's the thing, right?
yeah,
Vettel came into that first season with Leclerc hungry as ever after losing a championship that he shouldn't have lost.
right.
The 2018 championship, the season before Leclerc got signed by Ferrari, right, was Vettel's to lose, and people knew that because Vettel was by far the better driver in that season. He crashed out in Hockenheim, and then from then onwards, that then basically said to Lewis, Lewis got into his head, okay, he's vulnerable now.
Yeah,
I can. It's my time to shine. If he didn't crash at Hockenheim, he would have won that championship. 100%. 100%. And so he's come into 2019 hungry as ever, right? And bearing in mind this, right? Vettel's coming in hungry because of a championship loss, right? But Leclerc has come into that seat, right? After his dad has just passed away, right? Oh, and
yeah,
telling his dad before he passed away, oh yeah, I signed for Ferrari.
yeah.
So, they both had incentives to do well that season. It's just that, unfortunately for him, he came up against a Sebastian Vettel that was still in his prime.
I
It
think
was,
I think out of all seasons that he would have had a chance to win it would have been 2022, where he won the first race when he won Bahrain, the first race of the
oh yeah,
season.
100%. Ferrari were the best car for the first 7 races of that season.
And then back half of the season, Ferrari falls off like normal.
Um, but no, yeah. What else is there to talk about? Let's have a look. Um, okay, I know you're not gonna like. I know you're not gonna like this, but let's talk about the Hungarian Grand Prix quick.
Oh,
Um,
fuck me. Fuck me.
you're a McLaren fan, so I want to get your perspective of this, and don't be like, oh yeah, but. They needed to do it. Um, what is your honest opinion on what happened between Stello, or Stella, sorry, and Lando?
What's my
What
I
what is your what is your opinion on what happened with Lando that race? And it has to be an honest opinion. It can't be like McLaren
so
clouded.
yeah. So I understand. Like I honestly do. I understand why they did it because Oscar led the whole race. Only fair, some would say. Yeah, like I understand. But was it stupid? Absolutely. That might have been one of the dumbest fucking things I think I've ever seen in a Formula One race.
Oh, I
You fuck
100%
up.
agree.
You fuck up. You McLaren doing what we do best, and we fuck up our pit strategy. We fuck up our strategy, and now you have Lando on first. Okay, what's the big deal? You're still 1-2. And then you got fucking Will coming across Lando's radio saying, "Oh, you need Oscar. You need Oscar." He does need Oscar. He needs Oscar to finish second to be in constructors. And if Lando would have gotten first, that would have done nothing but help his fucking championship fight against Max. So why they did the swap? I get why they did it, but why did they do it?
I understand what you're saying. I mean, I understand the point is like I totally agree. I as someone from outside, as a fan from a different team, a fan of a different driver, I watching it, I didn't I didn't understand why they did it. I mean, we were like closing in on 5 laps remaining of that race, and they said to Lando, "Don't be a dick," basically, and let Oscar win. And he goes, "But why?" And then
Doesn't matter. He said, "Doesn't matter."
no, no, his fucking engineer comes out and says, "Oh, it doesn't matter. It's fine. Just
Yeah,
let him
that's what.
past." And then
Lando's
not
like, "Well, it
completely
does."
disregarding the fact that Lando is the closest person to Max right now in the championship, and then Lando just comes back with, "Well, it does," and I completely
It
agree with Lando.
it
It
does
doesn't
matter
matter.
exactly.
It doesn't matter whether what doesn't matter is whether Oscar get his first win, because it's inevitable that he's going to get his first win with the car they've
Yeah.
got. He will get his first win, right? But right now, what matters right now, is that Lando gets the best possible finish he possibly gets in every race, right? And because they were too clouded by the fact that Oscar can get his first win, oh, we need to show that he's part of the team, right? They Because that clouded their judgment, they basically said to Lando, "Yeah, fuck you, mate. Sorry. We want the Aussie to win. Sorry." You know what? I think that that Lando's race today was down to that. He's at an all-time low after the collision, after the Austria collision with Max, and after the losing the race to Piastri in that way as well. I wouldn't have minded it if Piastri had got past normally, but asking him to let him past, that's a bit of like that's hurt his ego a little bit, surely, right? And Lando's currently at an all-time low. He could have won 2 races. Like he could have won 3 races, right? One he DNF'd in, and the other his team told him not to win,
Yeah.
right? And he's gone into Hungary. I mean, he's gone into Belgium with this mindset that's like, well, everything's against me now, and he's come 7th. But no, yeah, and then with Max's temper tantrums, now just shows you how much of a sore loser Max is, really.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the thing is like, oh my god, you've given me a bad car. You were the ones that put me on this strategy. Why should I listen to you guys when all you do is fuck me over and all that kind of shit? And it's like, dude, give it in. You
Yeah.
literally, for the last 2 seasons, probably had the fastest car in F1 history, and now you're saying that it's the team's fault. Maybe put a little bit more responsibility on yourself to deliver,
100%.
because it's not all the team's fault. You're the one that's driving that car. I'm pretty sure 9 times out of 10 you put someone else in that car, they'll go and do much better than what he did. So maybe
100%.
maybe he should look himself in the mirror and think, actually, I am a human being. I'm not a robot, and maybe I do make mistakes. But no. On to the Dutch Grand Prix next season. We're looking forward to it. Next season? I mean, next is it next week or do we have a break?
We're on the season mid season break. Yeah, the mid
Are
season
we on a
break.
break? Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the month off.
Yeah, 25th of August. So, we do have a month where we won't be talking about F1 on this podcast. And the reason why we're called the Unacthletic, there's two reasons. One, because we're not just F1 podcast. We talk about everything. We talk about football, uh, as in soccer football for the Americans out there. Um, we talk about F1. We'll talk about NBA when it comes on. We'll talk about um, NFL when it comes on. We'll talk about IndyCar and NASCAR. I don't know if Colin watches that, but I watch it here and there.
Do you
But
see? Do you actually? Speaking of IndyCar, I just want to change on that real quick. Did you see the crash that they didn't call a yellow flag with in
no,
Indianapolis the other day? So it wasn't the Indy 500, but it was a race in Indianapolis. There was like a six-car collision. Well, there was like a two-car collision at first, and the marshals were like, "Nah, fuck it, no yellow flag." And like Pato Ward, the McLaren Aero driver, actually got like injured, and his knee got like fucked up because they didn't want to call a yellow
didn't he
flag. It
win?
was mad. No, his car was done.
But
This wasn't the Indy 500.
a quick thing about Pato Award. If you didn't know, he is the first driver to win in the IndyCar hybrid car. Recently, I'm pretty sure they've just brought out the new hybrid spec car, which they're using this season, and Pato Award was the first person to win in that car. Um, or win in a hybrid spec car in IndyCar, which is pretty cool. Big ups McLaren for that. Um, and yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure we've spoken about all we can speak about for this episode anyway. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of the Unathletic. We will see you next week as we probably talk about the F1, not F1, as we probably talk about the Premier League. We'll get ourselves onto a conversation about the Premier League. If you
Maybe
have
do a little
any
table.
yeah, have do our own little prediction for who we think is going to go where, and if you guys have any suggestions for what we could talk about in future episodes, what we could do in future episodes, put it down in the comments. How many likes do we want to get on this video? Realistically, as it's our first ever video.
Well, I don't know. How many subs do you have?
Well, no, it's a new channel, so it would be 0 subs. But like,
Oh,
if I
five.
if I should we say 10? Be
Yeah,
ambitious.
yeah. We'll go 10.
But anyway, I'll probably try and condense this down. Um, but thank you all for listening. If you have listened all the way through, um, thank you all for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, and I'm not going to say it, but I am going to say it. Please like, please subscribe. Um, we are doing this for free at the moment, only because we enjoy doing it. But if this grows, you never know what can happen.
Yeah.
Um, but this will also go out on TikTok. I'll make a TikTok channel. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week for episode 2. See you later.
Goodbye.